Peace, peace, peace. Thank y'all again for tuning in. I am Aurora Devyne and I go by Divine Intuition 444 here on YouTube. And bear with me because it is late at night. But I had to come on and just talk about the energy. I was on this energy last week. And it was maybe not last week, maybe like 2 weeks ago. Something like that. I ended up watching this movie called the Montauk Incident, or Incident at Montauk. Something like that. Anyway, I could have sworn for some reason there was a different movie that was out about the Montauk Project. So, I've never had actually looked into the Montauk Project, but I know that the Montauk Project comes up often and it relates to, the beginning of certain programs or projects like MK Ultra, like Project Stargate, which I have to look into. And I think it was what gave way to these other projects, right? Or kind of like gave birth or a vision to these other projects to go forward or move along forward, whatever the case may be. But anyways, so I was watching this movie and it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime, and I'm not trying to promote anything, but this is how I seen it. So, I was watching it, and I swear to you, there was little things that just kept coming, just kept coming up. And it's the TV. The TV is kind of bright right now, so you'll see my reflection probably coming in and out. Not reflection, but the lighting. And mind you guys, it's like close to 11, so yeah, that's why I look like this, but don't judge. So as I'm watching this movie, I started taking notes, and I'm like, man, there's like a couple of good things that I was hearing, that I was getting, transmissions about. And mind you, like, my higher self speaks to me based off of certain things. So I was getting some downloads, and part of the movie, this guy actually refers to a website that he goes on and kind of reads up on the legend or whatever thing, whatever the myth is, because they always kind of refer to these as myths or conspiracies that have yet to be proven, but no one how could I say, but no one really has proof or anything, so he was saying that what got him to actually even look into Montauk was the fact that he had seen a ship in Long Island. And Long Island is actually notorious for being a government site. And it's notorious for UFO sightings, supposedly, right? I mean, I don't live in Long Island. This is just what the movie was actually portraying as well. But however, I feel like there is truth to that. So I find it very interesting that he even showed sightings, UFO sightings. And he was quite a few other people have seen sightings in Long Island. But Specifically, he was looking up sightings in Hero Park. Hero Park is the actual site where the Montauk project took place. It's in a park, right? Or they made it into a park after. Either way, it's hidden, it's tucked away, right? Go figure. So he does his little research or whatever, and he gets to this website, and I read the whole website, like from the actual movie, and I'm floored. And I'm like, wow. Like, it actually talks about how the Montauk project was to look into the future. And specifically, I mean, supposedly there's this like transmitter, like a whole building, but not just a building. It was like a satellite dish that looked like it was a transmitter, which they called it the transmitting building or whatever. It was like the transmitter, right? So it was transmitting out. Listen to this, y'all. This is the wildest shit. It was transmitting out certain frequencies, right? Lo and behold, they started receiving contact from who they identify as Syrians, right? So Syrians actually helped them to create what they call the Montauk chair. Now the Montauk chair supposedly with a psychic being, well, supposedly the chair allowed your psychic senses to fold 10 times, meaning like whatever your psychic abilities are, whatever your psychic level is, it multiplies that times 10 or even like times 100. I forgot what the freaking number was, but I know it was significantly like way higher, right? And now I kind of think of this like if you're like if you're raising in Super Saiyan mode, right? You go from like regular mode, you go to Saiyan, Super Saiyan, and then you just keep going, right? So this would be very significant to like Super Saiyan mode for any of my geeks out there. So this chair, once once it was, working, it allowed certain individuals who were already in tune with their psychic abilities and senses. So the CIA specifically trained one person. So it was like their choice, like their choice, who they nominated, who they wanted to specifically partake into this, into this project, into the Montauk Chair project, or just to place them in the Montauk Chair. So the CIA like literally trained this guy for I don't know how many years with psychic abilities, like working on the psychic abilities, the human psychic abilities, right? So you have this guy who they put in this chair, who's CIA, who's funded by the CIA, trained specifically for this project, especially by the CIA. So this guy has the ability, once he's in the chair, to make things appear out of thin air. He had the ability to open portals and see through portals. And see through portals, seeing like future events. However, the more that this guy understood that he was opening pockets of time, okay, he was distorting time. like distorting the natural flow of time and space. So he was actually warping it. And he was warping, like, so what happens is like he was cutting holes in time, and the natural fabric of time could actually collapse. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I swear to you, don't think, hopefully people don't think I'm a dork, which I don't care, but it's kind of like a perfect kind of imagery. If you have a base, right? Let's say you have a base on a cake and you keep punching holes, right? Because you're trying to make like whatever design. Well, that base is not going to be a foundational base for anything to kind of like support it, right? It's going to sink in, it's going to crash, or will crash in or cave in or whatever the case may be, but it won't support, it won't have any support. So it's kind of like that. It's like they were warping time and they realized that. The guy that was actually the one who was in the chair, he started realizing how nefarious, but not just him, there were other people in that project that were just like understanding and realizing how nefarious this really goes as far as the project and what these head head project people, or I don't know what the saying is, what they wanted, what their real intention was, and it was disasterly, right? So a couple of the people that started objecting to what the project was, because they started realizing the real intentions behind this project. They wanted to shut down the project, but they couldn't just stop working on the project. They were trying to like self-sabotage the project without the head people knowing, right? So they actually asked the guy, the CIA trained psychic agent or whatever you want to call him, to help, and so he did. And so a lot of us, we can actually go and we can read the Montauk project or whatever the case may be. I'm just giving a quick rundown because there is something specifically that I need to talk about, and it shit is wild, yo. Wild. Now, and this is just stuff that I put together like literally from like last week to now. And it was something that had been bugging me because there's always things that stand out. And those are the things that I tend to follow up on just because it's, I obviously realize it's my spirit guiding me, my higher self showing me, and it's my higher self nudging me to actually like pursue what it is that I'm seeing that's standing out. So the guy, the CIA trained psychic agent, it's the best way I can say it. He agrees because he sees as well that the potentials of them furthering this project is going to cause something that they can't come out of, and they wouldn't know how to even fix. Something that you just can't fix. It's like Loki trying to fix the fabric of time. Do you guys, I don't even know if we've even touched based on that, or if anybody has seen the show Loki, but it's like Loki creating all of these alternate timelines based off of the main timeline that gets split I don't know how many ways, and it's just a disaster, right? So that's essentially what they were doing by this project. They kept opening portals in different time, in different spaces of time, which was causing different like catastrophes. possibly, possibly with like some sort of like really irreversible type of like something fabric of time, like something causing something to just, everything is based off of time and space. So imagine if he is breaking those laws and forcing things, to open up, then I could only imagine what the ripple effect would be. So that's what I'm really speaking on, is the ripple effect of the cause, which would be the effect, right? So then he goes and he so you have like this inside crew of people who want the Montauk project to actually stop. So they're the ones who are the main people that want to sabotage it, but like implode it from the inside out. So they kind of fund this whole little idea. They work together, and the idea is that the main guy, the main psychic, will go in the chair like normal, like normal procedure, but instead of doing what they want, what he would do is he was to his duty to to create the sabotage was to create a benevolent being, an invisible benevolent being. So he would open up a portal, he would create a benevolent invisible being that would scare the heads to shut down the project. This shit did not go planned out at all how they thought. And this is what I wanted to talk about, because the CIA is playing a god role, a generator, observer, or operator and destroyer role, but over the mass, over masses. And that's another thing, because that just gave me something. When I said mass, I thought of physics right now. So I'll have to get back into mass would be woman, matter would be man, or mass would be feminine, would be the feminine polarity or energy, and matter would be, if I'm not mistaken, would be the masculine energy or polarity. So let me just keep going. So they all are like, yeah, like I can go ahead, and he's like, I can. And mind you, this is before he even sits in the chair. They're all like, yeah, all we need is just like for you to create this invisible creature or whatever, and just to kind of scare them, like just to show them like something is here, and that you allowed something in, but not by, like, almost like doing it on accident, but not on accident, type of thing. So finally the day comes where he is sitting in a chair and he starts to manifest a being. But the being he manifests is not at all what was originally planned. He manifests a being that they call the Beast of the Eyed. The Beast of the Eyed. Okay. So that was what stood out to me throughout the whole movie. I'm not even playing with y'all. The whole movie. There was a couple of things that was just kind of standing out. This right here took the cake. The Beast of the Eyed. Now, if you guys look this up, right? Eyed. I-D. And I was like, but eyed? Why would they say eyed? Now, isn't eyed in mind? M-I-N-D? But that's not what I found. Yes, he generated it from his mind, but this is what I really want to point out. He may have generated it, right? Meaning, like, he may have created it. And mind you, he is the only psychic that was trained specifically for this project, meaning his psychic abilities may be slightly stronger, more accelerated, or even slightly more advanced than the other people that were maybe like runners up. So when he generates this monster, he creates this monster, but this monster starts to actually take form. And this monster is not invisible, it actually becomes visible. And this monster starts to perpetuate hair. It becomes a hairy beast. What beast do we know that sounds very significant to this? I would say the Yeti or Sasquatch, right? Now, we could interchangeably say the Yeti and Sasquatch. That was just one, but that was just one thing that like totally drew me in. I was like, oh shit, this sounds like Sasquatch. Could this be the making of Sasquatch? Like, is this maybe how Sasquatch was created? So then I'm like, well, the way that they explain everything is that this hairy beast they called the beast. Well, he says that it's the beast from the Ide. I didn't understand what the Ide was. But then they said that the beast actually started destroying everything in its sight. But that's exactly what the intention of what these guys wanted to do regardless. It was their intention to stop the project, to, kind of flop the project, basically. So the beast still had the intention of what the guy wanted to do, and apparently the beast could not be stopped, right? So they couldn't stop the beast. It was destroying everything in sight until finally the crew that was still, helping with the project, the ones that knew what was going on, they started cutting all of the wires and all of these cables and trying to shut down the building that was actually transmitting, okay? So they had to shut down everything that was transmitting a signal. Once they finally did cut the wires and cables and whatever the case may be, the monster disappeared, right? Or the monster was gone, whatever the case may be. Now, the beast from the Ide. When I looked up Ide, I thought it was reminiscent to mind, which I would say it is. But it's reminiscent to not just the mind, right? But it's something certain, something specific about the mind, and it is the instinct. Now, Ide is really instinctual drive. So this beast was made from the instinctual drive of the creator, which was the CIA agent. Y'all, I just realized through my own research that instinctual drive, it's actually part of your lower chakra system, which would most likely tie into your sacral chakra. I won't even really say your root chakra, Your root chakra is connected to like, I almost want to say like the unconscious, because that's where consciousness actually is birthed, right? It's in the roots. So if that would be your unconscious, then your next one up would be instinct. Don't we fight to live? Don't we fight to survive? These are the things that I started realizing, and that's all from birth, right? And even animals, when they're birthed, not all animals are guaranteed life after birth. Some animals literally have to fight from birth to stay alive. Perfect example would be perfect example could be like, I mean, really anything. Baby chicks, you know, baby turtles, like, and we're not just talking about in an egg, we're actually talking about like womb or egg. But regardless, there is a fight, because there's also a fight to create. So doesn't the sperm fight its way to the egg? So there is still there, and what I'm trying to say is there's still an energy of instinct and survival in the sacral chakra. That would be the instinctual drive. The instinctual drive is in your lower chakras. What the CIA didn't realize was that this man was resonating in his lower chakras, y'all. Especially at the time when he manifested this beast to come forward. Now, what would that look like if he manifested that being through his heart chakra? That would be the benevolent being, the invisible benevolent being that they originally wanted to manifest, but they didn't. So that only goes to show that the CIA is literally putting people, or hand choosing people, to play this God complex or God operator, or, you know, generator, operator, destroyer type of, I don't know what to call it, like energy. And what I noticed was, if he was resonating at a higher frequency at the time when he was manifesting that, then the being would have been different. But the being wasn't. The being came from his instinctual drive, y'all. And his instinctual drive was to destroy everything. Naturally, they wanted to destroy it from the inside out. So the intention was there. This is like, yeah, I don't know how many people realize this, how many people tapped into this, but this all goes to show that that guy was still in his ego. The one that the CIA, mind you, what do you think the CIA is run off of? Their ego, right? So it's only natural that that energy kind of transfer over to this guy who was put into this position to be the main person, like, in the Montauk chair. You know what I'm saying? Like the main, I don't know, like the main communicator, the main transmitter, receiver, like whatever, however you want to put it. But they chose someone without realizing like the effects that someone's own energy or like their vibration can have on the whole project. And naturally, if you're doing things not out of like the best intention, then it, how can I say, it's not of the best intention, but it's not a service or a soul service or a service to others. Taking upon that position, being in the CIA, is a service to not others. It would be basically a service to self. They're not doing this in support of anyone. They're doing this in support of an agenda, an intentional agenda, which has nothing to which has no foundation that is servicing the people in any way, right? So that's what I want to talk about. That's why I just wanted to kind of like share. It was something really big that I found that was like, wow, mind-blowing. And we don't really maybe take into account like how we probably didn't put this together, but it was just something that just naturally I gravitated to. And I started realizing like, damn, dude, like I could only imagine the other shit that, the government's done with all of these different projects and how they went sideways based off of something that they probably overlooked. But also, if you don't have this spiritual understanding of certain things, then everything that looks logical, you know what I'm saying, that's on the right side of the brain, everything that looks logical, that looks like everything adds up, is gonna look that way because you're not seeing it from the other side. And that's what I mean about the masses. See, this is what I was trying to get to. The masses, right? Mass. If I'm not mistaken, mass is symbolic to the feminine frequency. If everything is so logical, then they're stuck in what matters. But they're not working for the masses. So if you're stuck in what matters, then you're stuck in the masculine aspect of seeing things and making sense of things in this physical realm, not understanding the mass behind it, like not understanding the spiritual side of things, which would be the feminine, right? That would be the spiritual aspect. Now, another thing too is, I was asking one of my brothers on here, Decoded Memories. I'd asked him, I believe like a few weeks ago, maybe, I don't know, my time framing is kind of off. It could have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago because time has been going really fast. So pardon me if I get it wrong. But I remember asking him like, hey brother, I have a real serious question. Like, is it possible for me to magnetize frequencies? Like, is that possible? And he said, yeah, it actually is possible. Another thing I found out today, right? You are your own transmitter and receiver through your masculine and feminine polarities. Now, I think I told him, but I have the ability to know what I'm looking for, not say what I'm looking for, but find what I'm looking for without any effort because it finds me. And I started realizing like, I'm doing this. This is my ability. I've been doing it for a while. But how? It's our polarities, y'all. If the masculine is literally the energy that is like the spark that you use to materialize something, right? So let's say, oh, you say you can do that, well, let me see it, and then you do it and it's the same thing. That's the electrical spark. That would be the masculine side of you. Now if I say, and this is where I kind of fall in, right? If I say I'm looking for something, the masculine side of me is already transmitting that intention. Man, I'm looking for, you know, remnants of me, or I'm looking for this code, or I'm looking for this frequency. My feminine polarity magnetizes that frequency in which I've already transmitted out of what I was looking for. Technically, the only thing I'm doing is observing, because I don't have to do much after that. That's my feminine polarity. I started realizing I was doing this naturally. This is natural. If I think something, I transmit it out. And when I find it, my energy finds it, it draws it to me. I don't have to do shit, but just be observant, be in now. You know what I'm saying? I had this conversation with my dad, and I had this conversation today, and I was telling him the ability that I had, and he was telling me that he knows that he can do anything when he puts his mind to it. And I was like, wait a minute. I had gotten a realization right there, and I was like, bah, like you literally just showed me in my mind positive and negative, meaning like magnetism would be positive, the proton, right? That would be the feminine aspect, the feminine polarity, your feminine energy. And then the electron, or what would be the negative, right? The negative sign, but that's the electron. That would be the electrical spark that's giving the energy. So you have to exert energy. That's that spark. Yo, I totally tripped. Like, I tripped out because I found it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, as I was saying it today, again, I ended up finding it. And it just shows me that I validate myself. Like, I don't need others to validate me. I validate myself based off of the things that I know that I'm channeling, okay? And then I go and I find it, and it doesn't take me too much effort. I validate myself, y'all. We need to be validating ourselves. We don't need to be looking outside for answers when we have the answers within ourselves. And the best thing about it is that when you validate yourself and you can see that you were on point and you are right, your confidence in yourself, in your higher self, in your spirit, in your life, everything just, it boosts. You know what I'm saying? It really boosts up. And then you start to have this confidence, knowing that if you're wrong, you're going to see that you're wrong. And if you're right, it's going to show you're going to see that you're right. And for a minute there, I kind of sat back and started feeling like I needed others to validate me, when I don't need no one to validate me. Like, Source validates me, and that's how I get these channelings. See, it's a totally different game when your higher self is channeling Source. When you channel Source, your higher self is going to make sure that you see that you were right. Or you can say Source is going to see that you were right based off of what you felt, or what you know to be true, and what you had already picked up based off of what you were receiving from Source. I hope this makes sense for some people, because that's the best way that I can explain this. But you have to sometimes take a seat back, like I did. I had to sit back a little because we all have our own shadow work. I haven't gotten up here in a while. I've been feeling like maybe it's because I need to sit back. I need to just observe. And I started doing that, and I started realizing it's okay to observe. I don't always have to reach out, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to observe. It's okay to to see and just listen. Especially listen. It's okay to listen sometimes and not even say anything. And what do you think God gave us 2 ears for? Yeah. Source. Well, however you identify creation, you know. But that's it. That's all I wanted to come in and say. It was long enough. I didn't even know I had this much memory on this phone. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. It is late. It's 11:39. My ass has to go to sleep. I have to get up in the morning. But thank you again for tuning in, y'all. This is Aurora Devyne signing out. Peace, love, light, unity, and wholeness to everyone. And thank you again. Much more coming soon. This is just one of like the energies that I was on that I found, and I can't wait to share more. Love y'all. Peace.